Since the formation of the Government of National Unity less than a year ago, a total of over 200 million rands had been spent on the travel and accommodation of cabinet ministers alone. In a recent statement, the Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Gayton McKenzie was quoted as saying that any suggestion that ministers should be travelling economic class when flying abroad is sadistic and impractical. Now view the statement against the backdrop that McKenzie spent more than 600,000 rands in travelling expenses alone on his 7-day trip to the Olympic Games. This is 600,000 rands just for his flights and his chauffeur in Paris, not even considering his accommodation or hotel expenses. McKenzie came under fire for these comments, but this is only the tip of the iceberg on cabinet members' exorbitant travel expenses. Deputy President Paul Mashatile spent 900,000 rands in hotel costs on a 4-day stay in Japan. 900,000. Now I want you to take a step back and just consider this. When we talk about numbers like 200 million or 900,000, it is easy to see these numbers as just abstract figures and easily miss the real-world consequences of what they mean. 900,000 spent over 4 days on a hotel means that Mashatile spent 225,000 rands each day. This translates to spending more than the average working South African's yearly income after tax in a single day on just the place you stay in. With this in mind, we at the Willem Petzer Group decided to do a full analysis on the travel spending by South Africa's cabinet. This video will explain it all. Good day, dear friends, Willem Petzer speaking. Be sure to subscribe for more analysis like this in your interest and join our WhatsApp group to keep you up to date with all the work being done by the Willem Petzer Group. Just WhatsApp your name and surname to the number on the screen. We are also offering a membership where you can support us financially for extra benefits, and to find out more, please message "Tell me more" to the same number that you used to join the WhatsApp group. South African taxpayers are being robbed. 164,000 rands for a trip to Burkina Faso that never even happened. 900,000 rands for a 4-day hotel stay for the Deputy President in Japan. Ramaphosa's bloated 77-member cabinet travels like royalty, while the economy crashes and nearly half the country is unemployed. Not many people can even fathom the extent of the wastage on travel expenses alone. American libertarian legend Ron Paul once mentioned that foreign aid is to take money from poor people in rich countries and giving it to rich people in poor countries. South Africa treats its taxpayer base in exactly the same manner. South Africa's cabinet consists of 77 ministers and deputy ministers and is the single largest in the world per capita, outdone only by the small island nation of Sri Lanka. The size of our massive cabinet is more than 3 times the size of that of larger, more developed nations. Germany, for example, a country with a population of nearly 85 million people and 12 times richer than South Africa, has only 17 ministers, while the United States of America, with a population of nearly 350 million people and 72 times richer than South Africa, has a cabinet of only 25 people. The excessive size of this country's cabinet becomes even more shocking when you consider how small South Africa's tax base is. Despite the fact that we have a population of over 60 million, more than 80% of income tax in this country is paid by less than 2 million people. Less than 3% of this country's population pays more than 80% of income tax. Countries such as America, with much smaller cabinets, have income tax bases that are proportionally nearly 100 times larger than that of South Africa. The strain placed upon the South African taxpayer by such a massively oversized government, which only seems to grow, even after every other election, is becoming truly unbearable on the taxpayer's shoulders. This fact is even further exacerbated by proportionality. Look at this graph that I drew up using the same countries as mentioned before. In South Africa, 2 million people pay 111 billion US dollars in tax revenue. In Germany, 22 million people, that's 11 times as many people, pay 1 trillion US dollars in tax revenue. And in America, 180 million people pay 4.9 trillion US dollars in tax revenue. This graph is an easy illustration of the fact that South Africa's tiny 2 million person tax base does not only pay the most taxes in the world proportional to its GDP or cost of living, but even comes close to it nominally as well, meaning US dollar compared to US dollar. But what makes things even worse is that on top of the massive annual salary bill of just the South African cabinet of 200 million rands, or almost 12 million US dollars, it has recently been revealed that the travel expenses for the ministers in Ramaphosa's cabinet over the first 11 months of its reign has totaled a further 200 million rands, or, as I mentioned, almost 12 million US dollars. Now, it must be noted that this figure excludes the travel expenses of the presidency itself, which means that the travel expenses of the cabinet over the past year alone far exceeds even the total salaries. This is a truly astonishing revelation, since it shows you how little this government really cares about money of hard-working taxpayers in this country. Consider this: the minister we mentioned of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, has been on a total of 11 international trips in exactly as many months, meaning 1 trip per month, which alone cost just under 5 million rands, or almost $300,000. Just imagine that for a second again. Imagine you spending 5 million rands in 11 months just on your travel expenses. One of these was a trip to the Havana Book Fair in Cuba, with absolutely zero benefit to his department or to the people of South Africa, but which alone cost the taxpayer nearly 200,000 rands, or almost 12,000 US dollars. Moreover, as Alan Beasley, a member of the Parliament for Action SA, recently pointed out, a total of 164,566, or just around $10,000, was actually paid out to a trip in his department to Burkina Faso, which never even took place. In only the first 4 months of her tenure, the Minister of Defence Angie Motshekga had spent a whopping 10 million rands on travelling both locally and internationally, even at a time when South African troops were dying on the battlefield in Congo and had to hear that our Ministry of Defence is unable to provide them with even the most basic of equipment and support that they needed. They didn't even have water, if you remember the video we made earlier this year. On a recent trip to Japan, Deputy President Paul Mashatile, as we already reported, spent nearly 1 million rands on just 4 nights of accommodation alone. This amounts to no less than an astonishing 15,000 US dollars per night. This cabinet splurges on accommodation, dinners and entertainment, even claiming expenses for cancelled trips. Taxpayers lose tens of thousands on flights and hotels with no refunds. But what is perhaps even worse is the fact that the taxpayer don't even get to know what all these millions of dollars are spent on. Deputy Minister Piers Mabe, for example, claims tens of thousands of rands for trips to the Grammy Awards in Los Angeles and a Creative African Nexus event in Algeria, without providing any cost breakdown for what the expenses of either of her trips were for. Furthermore, the figure of 200 million rands, or $1.2 million, is likely an underestimate, as many relevant parliamentary replies are still pending. This suggests that the total actual expenditure is far higher. For example, Minister of International Relations Ronald Lamola's frequent G20-related trips in early 2025 is still undisclosed, but it is implied to be significant due to business-class flights and massive entourages for no clear reason. These trips, while Lamola supposedly tied to South Africa's G20 presidency, are in reality no more than the photo op junkets with little to no tangible benefit to the citizens of this country. What makes these ludicrous expenses even more shocking is that it comes at a time when South African economy is in dire straits. Despite all the hype about the government of national unity and the supposed improvements to governance we were told to expect when this new coalition was formed a year ago, there has been almost no economic growth during the first 3 quarters of this term. In fact, the third quarter of the last year, the economy actually contracted by 0.3%, with meager growth rates of 0.4 and 0.1 recorded in the final quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year respectively. Irrespective of even inflation, the South African economy today under Ramaphosa is smaller than it was under Mbeki. No growth had taken place over the last more than 15 years. During this same period, the expanded or real unemployment rate of the country actually further increased from just over 42% to significantly more than 43% in just 6 months. The fact of the matter is that if a new government were to actually effectuate positive change and reach new goals, taxpayers would be happy to pay for any necessary expenses required to make this happen and make the economy grow and social development possible. But this is not the case by any stretch of the imagination. The hard reality is that the government of national unity has failed the people of this country on every single regard. And if their first 11 months in office is anything to go by, it does not bode well for the next 4 years that they have left, with taxpayers facing the daunting prospect of simply continuing to pay billions to fund a corrupt and unproductive government that seems worse than any other government before it and continually disappoints and never delivers on any of its provinces. As the Willem Petzer Group recently reported in this video that you can find on this link right here on the screen, the raw economic data unequivocally shows that the cabinets under President Cyril Ramaphosa are the worst performing in the history of this country. Even since the formation of this country in 1911, no other cabinet has performed this badly at growing the economy. Not only this, in January of this year, this government also passed the most destructive piece of legislation in the history of this country, when the President signed the Expropriation Act into law. Now, when I say these things, you must remember that there was a time in South Africa's history when this country was under massive international sanctions, when trade with most Western countries were virtually impossible, and yet the economy still grew at a larger or a bigger or a faster rate than it had grown under Cyril Ramaphosa, and there were no economic shrinkage, as we saw under Cyril Ramaphosa and the Government of National Unity. Unequivocally, as I said, the numbers show that this Government of National Unity, economically speaking, is worse than any other government in the history of this country, and no numbers that you can give me can prove otherwise. This allows the government to expropriate private property even without any compensation, and undoubtedly has the potential to completely tank the countries economically altogether if the Expropriation Act is used to the letter of the law that is written inside this act. The reality is that South Africa's government does not care about hard-working South Africans at all. In fact, they do not care about the poor, and they do not care about the middle class, and they do not care about the suffering in this country either. If they had cared, they would be spending this money on ensuring that the public schools in poor areas get their textbooks on time so that children can actually learn how to read and get a decent education. If they cared, they would have maintained the basic infrastructure needed to ensure that poor people in this country have access to clean water, drinkable water that do not make them sick. But as they fly business class across the world to all these Western countries, from one glamorous hotel to the next, from one glamorous event to the next, they recklessly waste away the South African people's money without any shame or any hesitation whatsoever. This is nothing short of criminal, and the people of this country, especially the hard-working taxpayers, deserve better. It is high time this Government of National Unity Cabinet is held responsible for the millions they have squandered over the last 11 months. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to support us via paid subscription. It would help us immensely, as hundreds of man-hours go into producing these videos. To find out more, just WhatsApp Tell Me More to the number on the screen. Goodbye, and God bless you.